All right. Welcome back, Team DWC. It's your boy TWP Popcorn. You already know what time it is. It's like 6 p.m. on Wednesday. If not, it'll be 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. That's when y'all know to come catch your boy live. If not, we'll have plenty of shorts for you somewhere in your algorithm. Make sure you like the videos so you see them, right? Right. Because, if you don't like the videos, they don't know to keep me in your algorithm because that's what the algorithm set on. It depends upon what you watch, not who you want to watch you, right? Right. But let's see. We got some videos to do today. Y'all know I'm going to hold y'all up as long as I can. But we will get straight to the videos because that way I can get my roll on.
This degenerate, absolute, out of this world 5,000 milligram edible. Luckily, we're not going to have to do very much eating. We're just going to do a lot of getting high. This one rope apparently has 500 milligrams in it. Lucy, this one rope, 500 milligrams. God damn, dude, let's get to it. Just like that. A few moments later. I'm faded, dude. I'm having a really nice, definitely mostly a head high, but I'm really just relaxed. I'm chilling. I'm having a good time. Tomorrow. Right now, I feel like just the right level of stupid. I feel like I've lost just enough IQ points to be perfectly vibing, Not too stupid, but just stupid enough. You know what I'm saying? I feel fantastic, dude.
He said not too stupid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into our latest TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by FlowHub. I am your host, Shad Dales. Hope you're all having a great long weekend. Today we're going to break down, because it's that time of the week again, our weekly recap of MSOS and YOLO, including top holdings, portfolio allocations, and the price action over this past 5 trading days. We'll also touch on Curaleaf's refinancing move, earnings positioning at Trulieve and GTI, and the volatility in Glasshouse, and the sharp move, get this, Charlotte's Web, and it's tied to hemp legislation. So let's get into our latest TDR weekly recap of both MSOS and YOLO. But before we do that, a quick note to all of our operators out there. If you're building retail scale in this environment, your infrastructure indeed matters. And guess what? That's where FlowHub comes in. FlowHub provides compliant, scalable POS technology for dispensaries across the U.S., inventory management, regulatory reporting, real-time data analytics, and built for operators preparing for growth. And get this, regulatory change. Come on, Van Bondi. So if you're serious about execution, check out FlowHub by booking a demo now by logging on to flowhub.com. All right, let's get into it. MSOS, first up, it closed at $3.96 this week. It was down 4.81% week over week from $4.16. It remains the most liquid proxy for U.S. multi-state operators with heavy concentration in its top 3 positions. Again, those are number 1, Curaleaf Holdings, portfolio allocation, 24.87%. Weekly change this week, it was up 1.26%. They closed at $242 versus $239 the prior week. Why? Well, the company announced a proposed $500 million senior secured notes offering due 2029 aimed at refinancing 2026 maturities and funding growth initiatives. The transaction is non-dilutive and is expected to close later this month in mid-February. Actually, we're already in mid-February. Where does time go? So it's a constructive balance sheet move in a capital-constrained sector right now, but $500 million. Interest levels real high with Curaleaf. Next up is Trulieve, portfolio allocation 21.84%. Weekly change down 7.91%. Shares declined from $6.95 to $6.40. The company right now, they announced its Q4 and full year 2025 earnings call. Get this, mark this in your calendar, February 26th. So this looks like earnings positioning while investors awaiting updated guidance, particularly as we know in Florida, exposure and margin profile. So again, February 26th, everyone. Third, GTI, portfolio allocation, 21.75%. This week, weekly change, they were down 1.97%. They closed at $6.97 versus $7.11 last week. No new press releases during the week. Earnings, though, are scheduled for February 25th. As usual, the focus will be on operating margins, free cash flow, and capital discipline. So combined, Curaleaf, Trulieve, and GTI, they represent roughly 2/3 of MSOS exposure, which continues used to define ETF volatility. Now number 4, and get this one, Glasshouse Brands, portfolio allocation 7.01%, weekly change down 15%, shares fell from $9 to $7.65. There was no new company-specific press releases during the week. The most recent operational update was January's accelerated greenhouse expansion initiative. Liquidity dynamics, they indeed remain a factor here, but yes, down 15%.
So for those that don't pay attention, $7 and some change for a stock ain't much, which is actually good because that means if you buy 100 of them for $7 and some change, that's like whatever. You just move the zero behind the decimal over. You see what I'm saying? So, and then you got 100 of them. So then when it goes up or goes down, you're like, I ain't worried about it. But 10 years from now, when it's over $100, you wish you could get it for the 7. That would be the point. Before the industry actually regulates itself, you better pick you a company to get in on. That way, whenever it does shoot up to where, yeah, I bought 100 stocks for $7 a piece. Now they're worth $100 a piece. Yes, you do the math and add that up. You know what I'm talking about?
Not sure if you saw that, but now you know. Number 5, Cresco Labs, portfolio allocation 6.79%. Weekly change down 4.27%. They closed at $1.01. No new press releases this week. The latest development, it remains the January ATM equity program. So execution and balance sheet flexibility, it remains central themes. As they'll probably, based off this ATM, look to buy something once reform is officially signed off. All right, that's it for MSOS. Let's now shift our attention to the other ETF, YOLO. YOLO. It has, as you know, a blended structure, both U.S. and international exposure. Its largest holding, none other than MSOS. Portfolio allocation, 43.73%. Weekly change, as I said earlier, is down 4.81%. And given the weighting, MSOS performance directly drives YOLO. Yes, it does. But enough of MSOS. Let's now move beyond that and look at number 2, Village Farms. Portfolio allocation, 18.61%. Weekly change, down 1.54%. It closed at $3.19. When you look at this company, recent developments include Dutch market product expansion and export recognition in British Columbia, though no new releases during the exact week this week. So don't read too much into this. International optionality remains part of the thesis with BFF. Next up, number 3, High Tide. Portfolio allocation 8.96%. The weekly change was down 1.7%. It closed at $2.31. They opened up, get this, their 219th Canna Cabana location at Scarborough, Ontario, which is a suburb of Toronto, bringing its Ontario footprint to 95 stores with additional capacity under the provincial cap. Retail scale continues to expand methodically, 219. Wow. Now number 4, get this everyone, Charlotte's Web, portfolio allocation 4.83%, weekly change 47.48%.
Well,
it was the standout mover of the week. The surge likely reflects ongoing hemp legislation discussions, including the proposed Hemp Act aimed at formalizing FDA oversight while preserving the legal hemp-derived CBD market. So the theme here, in lower liquidity names, regulatory signals can drive outsized moves. And now number 5, last one, is SNDL. Portfolio allocation right now is at 4.31%. The weekly change down 0.66%. It closed at $1.50. No new company-specific updates during this period, so not much really to worry about or think about pertaining to that this week. But closing thoughts, it was a relatively quiet week from a federal catalyst standpoint. No new rescheduling developments and no major DOJ update. But please, we hope that changes going into next week. Come on, Attorney General Pam Bondi. We need this right now. We're seeing the tape. Things are quiet and everything's starting to drip out. There's no volume right now. We need to increase that. And how? Well, we need a headline. Hopefully that comes this week. And if it does, sparks should fly again for this industry. But for now, in the absence of a macro headline, the sector definitely drifted lower, with MSOS down nearly 5%, with ETF concentration in 3 operators. Individual earnings positioning continues to drive index movement. Refinancing activity at Cureleaf, it signals longer-term planning earnings over the next 2 weeks. It's going to provide clear forward guidance across the major MSOs. And for now, allocation concentration remains the defining factor of ETF performance in cannabis equities. So, yeah, what's the date now? February 15th. So the next week week and a half, we're going to get some guidance on major earnings by GTI and TrueLeaf. That should be very, very telling. Hopefully, that's combined with some positive news from Attorney General Pam Bondi. What a week she had. Woo-hoo. Anyway, that's it for now. Leave those comments below. Who had this on their bingo card? That Charlotte's Web will be up over 47%. Do you like this stock? If so, leave your comments below if you're watching this baby closely. As usual, make sure to stay connected with us here at TDR. So make sure to like, subscribe, and smash on that bell for all notifications. We'd appreciate it here at TDR. That's it for now, everyone. We're off tomorrow for the live stream, but back Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Enjoy your holiday, both on the Canadian and American side. We'll see you back here, as I said, Tuesday at 4. Appreciate you logging on again here today. I'll see you in the next one. I'm your host, Shad Dales.
Everything beat,
Thanks
you
again
know,
for
as long
watching.
as you see me on around 6 o'clock on Wednesday, everything should be good. Last time I was late was because of flat tires, so.
Hell, back to 60, I was smoking shit on the street. Well, I shouldn't say that. Hell, it's getting high, too. Everybody was good. Oh, it wasn't a thing to do because it was a thing to do, you know. It was a thing to do because it got you high. Can you do it? I feel you. No, that's why I'm doing it. I feel it. Man, you cool as shit, mister. I hate to do it, but I got to charge you. That's $60. $60? Yeah. And I remember when a dime bag cost a dime. You know what I mean? You know how much condoms used to cost back in them days? How much?
I don't know.
We never used them.
Today, I'm back with a lawsuit out of Ohio to punish MSOs for price fixing and unfair competition in the newly legal adult use Ohio market. I'm Attorney Tom Howard, asking for likes and subscribes for the legalized and regulated cannabis markets like Ohio. Unfortunately, there's some problems in there. Let's dive in with our slides. This complaint was just filed in February, so we will have much more on this. And if you want to follow along, get our newsletter. There's a QR code right there on the screen. You can scan it and sign up for our newsletters. Whenever we do new videos or have other interesting things, you'll get notice of it. The Ohio allegations of the cartel complaint. This was brought actually by Ohio's Attorney General Yost against, I believe, 9 major MSOs. Those are multi-state operators. And this is not a private business dispute. This is the state Attorney General alleging the entire adult use market is rigged. Can you believe that? A highly limited, extremely expensive adult use market being rigged? I'm not shocked, are you? Especially considering there was hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. And as a result, what the Attorney General is alleging is that there has been some price fixing going on from the MSOs to benefit one another and injure the mom and pops, the independent operators like ourselves here on Cannabis Legalization News. We're an independent dispensary. So who are in the crosshairs? It's basically a murderer's row of all the publicly traded operators in the cannabis space, from GTI to Verano to TrueLeaf to Cresco, Carleaf, Ascend Wellness, Air, Jushi. And these defendants purportedly or allegedly, we'll see how this lawsuit plays out, but it is being brought by the state's attorney general. One of the reasons why, if your state is not on board with how your regulated industry is playing out, stuff could go wrong. And how did this scheme in Ohio purportedly or allegedly work? Reciprocal quotas. You buy from me, I buy from you, and we all make money. And so those reciprocal quotas allowed for more sales to flow to those 9 defendants. And there was also some sensitive info sharing, like pricing strategies. Now, price fixing has been illegal for decades. And of course, discriminatory terms, preferential margins for the cartel. Of course, that's not correct. They are multi-state operators. They're large operators. And discriminating terms for the pricing for them would, of course, be different than independents who tend to buy less. But you have the Attorney General for Ohio seeking relief against the 9 largest operators in its state. And then the distribution, the quid pro quo. So the complaint details this system of trade balances where they agree to have quotas of reciprocal shelf space and state by state, month by month purchasing targets. Think about what these companies are. They are publicly traded. They have to report on earnings. They need earnings growth. They need revenue. The operational requirements on this is guaranteed shelf space, and then they make more money, and then they can report on earnings. And then, of course, they allegedly locked out third-party competitors who had nothing to trade but product quality. What other allegations are in this complaint? Evidently, there was email info sharing. So the competitors shared
locally
promotional
based
calendars,
cartel,
retail plans
they had it set
to mitigate conflicting prices. Because if one of them has a special and the other one doesn't, think about that. Price sells cars. It also sells weed, man. And so they had arrangements or communications, allegedly. That's the whole thing. This is an allegation. This isn't a proven fact yet. But they were allegedly sharing price intentions and removing the risks of a price war. So they didn't have a race to the bottom. They had fixed profit margins and sales volume that would be something their investors would like to see.
Now, see, although they say this is illegal, it's actually good common practice, because why? They all got together to work together. So what happened? Everybody wins. Why is it illegal for everybody to win? Because somebody's still losing. And guess what? That somebody is the public. You dig? But in this case, I mean, it's only bad because, yes, okay, this shop over here has a sale today. No other shop has a sale. So that means you should technically get more sales, right? I mean, think about it like that. But then everybody else's price is staying the same. Why? So you go to that one shop, they're having a sale because they need more numbers. More numbers means, yes, they're still all going to have the same amount of product available. It'll just get moved from one store to the next store. So then every store is getting their money and every store eats. I mean, it's not bad, but like they said, there's people that don't like it when they're not involved in it. Well, that's your problem for not being in the player's circle, right? Shout out to them player circles. You got to know how to establish you a network, and then y'all make sure everybody eating. Oh, they don't. They mad because we all eating. Well, shit. We the ones got the money to eat, so they sit their hungry ass over there. Because when we was trying to tell them what we was gonna do, they said they didn't want to get in. That could be the worst thing ever, right? Telling the people that's trying to help you get in with the money that you don't want to get in and help them get it. Then you wonder why you broke. What up, Sue? Good to see you. How you doing? Appreciate y'all for stopping by. Y'all know to go check out the Bud files. Appreciate them for stopping by and saying hi.
And then how were the independents squeezed? The state alleges that the MSO had rebates and margin protections to each other that were denied to the independent retailers. Again, the states, they track the industry, and so they know your numbers. You have to report your numbers. So that evidence that the state has access to when it comes to the regulators is there. Again, it's allegations right now, but the state can see the prices that the MSOs were getting relative to the prices that the independents were getting. And so allegedly the independents are forced to pay a higher cost, or they're going to lose traffic, or they have to match prices because price sensitivity is a real thing. I mean, I've created a menu software for my independent dispensary to try to match on price with my competitors, or you're going to have to operate at a loss, and the margins are not great in this industry. And why did the state come in and say, well, I'm going to do something about this? Legalization purportedly was to create a regulated market, not a monopoly or an oligopoly that only benefits the publicly traded largest operators. Those artificially controlled prices injure consumers and also injure the independents. That's what the state of Ohio is alleging. It's going to be interesting to see what the MSOs do in their response or their answer to the complaint. Probably move to dismiss first. Who knows? What is Ohio looking for in this? Injunctive relief again. That basically means, of course, stop it. A court order to stop the reciprocal buying and the sharing of information for the price. Also, Ohio is trying to get some civil forfeiture, $500 per day per defendant for every day the combinations were in effect. So they're going to go over all the data that the state has, because you have to report your data because the state wants to control the supply in states like Ohio or in Illinois or in Missouri or in highly regulated states. And then when the fines are going to accumulate, we're going to have some type of payments that are going to be made. And the injunctive relief, that's going to be really interesting because just like two gas stations right next to each other, you can see what the other gas station's price is. So what do we think the defendants are going to do in this? Well, the defendants are probably going to argue that they did nothing wrong. It's one of the number one things you do when you're a defendant is argue that you've done nothing wrong. And it was a legitimate business reasons. And then, of course, scale. They were making larger buys than the independents. And so from economies or efficiencies of scale, it made sense to give them a discount for the volumes they were buying. And then, of course, there was no agreement. It was completely just innocent and no harm. The market is young and volatile. That's true. They haven't even had a legitimate licensing round in the state. So interesting that they're saying they were trying to create this marketplace when the only people that have been able to get a license so far were all the medical actors. So what should the MSOs maybe try to do to brush up and polish themselves? You want to have policies and procedures in place that everything that you're doing is fair and above board. Obviously, you want to make sure that there are no schemes or correspondences back and forth between the suppliers and the shelf spaces that have any types of risky communications. And then also you can have
gas
audits
stations
or clean rooms. How do you share this data? How do you protect your data so it's not being shared by your competitors? Of course, your competitors can go to your website and see what types of specials you're running, and they can see what types of pricing that you have. Another thing you should have are audits, review all the things that you have been doing to see whether or not anything does cross a line, and have legal run by that and see if you are in compliance with all the rules. Now, the independents, they weren't named as defendants. But would they benefit if Yoast wins? Where is this evidence going to come from for the state to build its case? Is it already in all the records that they have from the seed to sale tracking software so they could see and then do data visualizations about how much the independents are getting and like what their gross margins are, how much sales volume they're doing? I don't know. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how the state builds their case in this or where it's going to go. It's a brand new case. It may mean that the era of friendly competition is ending, handshake deals, and you're not supposed to fix prices. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that Matt Damon film, The Informant. It's 20 years old now, but he was a vice president for ADM.
Man, it's not one of the predominant gas lines, but it's in certain areas.
Market, interestingly enough,
mostly
because
down by
corn was
Springfield.
related to it, and the producers didn't want to get hurt, and that, of course, was illegal. If there's evidence of price fixing in the Ohio MSO market, and the Attorney General must think that they have evidence of it. Otherwise, why would they file the suit if they didn't think they could win? I don't know. So good luck out there. If your moat is locked shelf space and a competitor handshake, not a strategy, unless that strategy is to get a subpoena. If you're out there operating, what should you do? Maybe do some internal audits and screen for communications and pricing policies. Have your lawyers look at stuff and tell your sales staff, do it this way. Should you create some toolkits? If you are an independent operator, we're making some software for us so that we could help other independent operators operate. And of course, don't forget to follow us over here at Cannabis Legalization News. We're live on Sundays and we create videos just like this to keep you apprised of what is going on in the industry. If you made it this far, we're asking for you to subscribe one more time and we are out of here. The cannabis space is not just about product categories and compliance. It's also about deals and disputes. Every compliance misstep can become litigation leverage. The Howard Law Group, they specialize in cannabis M&A, strategic transactions, and high-stakes litigation for operators, brands, and investors. When license control, partnership disputes, or regulatory interpretations threaten value, they know how to protect it. There's a link below to Howard Law Group. If you're looking to lock down counsel,
I know white women wear them. I know Hispanic women wear them. But if we're being honest, who's the franchise? Who's the franchise players? This looks ridiculous. No man has ever said, yo, you know what would make her look hotter? Pterodactyl wings on the face.
A new Oklahoma law says dispensaries can
only sell pre-packaged marijuana. That change took effect this past Sunday.
Fox 25's David Chasanoff joins us live. David, is there a grace period for this?
Wendy, there is. The Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority tells me dispensaries like this one have until November 1st to stop selling deli-style weed. One woman tells me she'll be out of her supply long before then.
Personally, I'm not a fan of it because I like to be able to take care of my patients one-on-one. If I have somebody that wants a gram, I want to be able to give them a gram. That's not going to happen anymore under prepackaged.
The pharmacy dispensary owner, Melanie Brown, says some people are upset about House Bill 2807, which states all medical marijuana flower must be sold in prepackaged quantities between 0.5 grams and 3 ounces.
This is a prepackaged shake ounce. At the end of the day, it is what it is, and we have to adapt and do what they tell us to do.
According to the OMMA, businesses have until November 1st to stop offering deli-style weed.
So this is the deli style. Most of our patients are not looking forward to it. We've been trying to prep them for it for the last month or so.
Brown says her growers told her their prices will either rise to $1 a package or potentially $300 a pound.
I'm really scared for my low-end tier right now, where I sell $60 an ounce, because I'm not sure I'm going to be able to maintain that once the add-on for prepackaged gets added on.
Fox 25 reached out to the Oklahoma lawmakers behind this change, but didn't hear back. We asked Brown if she has a message for the bill authors.
Listen to more mom and pops. Listen to the small people that are out here. We're struggling. You're making things more difficult than it needs to be. You're making it more difficult on patients than it needs to be.
The OMMA says dispensaries can still have samples of medical marijuana on display for patients to smell. Reporting live in Oklahoma City, David Chasanoff, Fox 25 News.
Everybody in New York was calling to get down with Mr. Nice Guy. We met all kinds of customers, like this guy here. He's what we call an enhancement smoker, because he thinks that marijuana makes every activity that much better.
Mi casa, su casa.
Observe.
You're Scarface, right?
Yeah.
I love Al Pacino, man. Did you ever see Son of a Woman?
Yup.
Have you ever seen Son of a Woman on weed? That's the way to see it, man. It's just whack.
$60, yo.
Cool, man. I got it. Did you ever see the back of a $20 bill, man?
No, I don't know, yo.
Did you ever see the back of a $20 bill on weed? Oh, there's some weird shit in there, man. There's a dude sitting in the bushes, man. Does he have a gun? I don't know, man. I don't know. What? Red team go. Red team go. It's just some weird shit, man.
Man, you fucking crazy, yo.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks, man. Hey, yo, wait. Dude, I'm gonna check out the stars later. It's really trippy. Especially on weed, man.
It's your job. I give you money, you give me ideas.
You never say thank you.
That's what the money is for. You're young, you will get your recognition. And honestly, it is absolutely ridiculous to be 2 years into your career and counting your ideas. Everything to you is an opportunity. And you should be thanking me every morning when you wake up, along with Jesus, for giving you another day.
My home state of Oklahoma is the land of God, guns, and ganja. You heard that right. Oklahoma may be one of the most conservative places in the USA, the buckle of the Bible Belt. But it has some of the most liberal marijuana laws in the country and by far the most dispensaries of any state. In this video, we will look at how this conservative state has been overrun by the devil's lettuce and the surprising reason so many people in Middle America have succumbed to reefer madness. In June 2018, Oklahomans voted in favor of State Question 788 to legalize medical marijuana. Mary Fallin, the conservative governor at the time, put the vote on the primary ballot in the summer versus the general election in the fall, thinking the lower turnout would doom the bill. Instead, turnout surged and it passed in a landslide. Since then, doobie dispensaries have sprouted like mushrooms after rain. Getting a business license in Oklahoma is remarkably cheap and easy. It only costs $2,500 for a permit, compared to Colorado and California, where the total cost is in the six figures. No limits exist to how many dispensaries can be in a town or area. Municipalities cannot pass ordinances banning them, and it's legal to smoke Mary Jane anywhere tobacco is allowed, like bars, parks, or walking down the street. As a result, Oklahoma has over 2,200 dispensaries, by far the most in the country. By comparison, Colorado has about 1,000 dispensaries, and California has about 885. Oklahoma has 3 times the number of dispensaries as California, but 1/10 the population. My hometown of Woodward is the perfect example of the unexpected commingling of the religious right and those who smoke the righteous weed. In a town of 13,000 people, there are 18 churches and 9 dispensaries, one for every 1,000 adults. With so many churches and dispensaries in one place, there has to be a significant overlap between those who tote God's herb on Saturday and...
But the point that you can make to that is the population there actually is a lot of weed smokers, so that makes sense, right? Because if, say for instance, your micro grows here can only have 250 plants. Now that's 250 plants. Last I checked, people like to smoke whatever they like to smoke in a day. So they might be smoking a little or they might be smoking a lot. You see what I'm saying? If you're smoking a lot, you ain't gonna want the fucking local place to only have 250 plants at a time. You're gonna need to go to the next place that can have that many. Because that many dispensaries mean they gotta have that many more suppliers. Hey, Negro, why'd you in my background? Like I can't hear that shit.
Sunday in God's house. You can see this crossbreeding of psychedelics and religion at the crossroads of the 2 main roads in Woodward, where someone put up the 10 Commandments, the T-Rex statue, and Jesus riding a Stegosaurus. That's trippy AF, even if you haven't been smoking the Magic Dragon. Here's what I find funny. These medical dispensaries across Oklahoma aren't pretending to look like pharmacies. They don't blend in, they aren't being discreet. On the main highway in Woodward, you'll find Shirley Jean's House of Day, with a tube man dancing with flailing arms, red eyes, and the word marijuana written down his contorting body. Imagine the pearl clutching as the good folks of Woodward drive by that. What will the kids think? The Gold Leaf dispensary has an even better logo. I'm sure the gorilla smoking a blunt is doing so for medicinal purposes. And hey, check out this dispensary in Sepulpa. Nothing says quality healthcare like a devil's lettuce green Ferrari suspended from a crane. On historic Route 66, I came across a kaleidoscopic healthcare facility that gave me
I mean, that is a nice statement for your business. It's a green Ferrari. Because, you know, Ferrari don't like to make nothing that ain't red or black. Oh, you want a color that's not red or black? Yes, but it's for business advertisement. You know, I advertise y'all by being the Ferrari, then I advertise myself because it's green. Yeah, you know, that's a nice business write-off. So next week, whenever I pull it down and start driving it, then people ain't gonna have no other questions for me, right? Right.
contact eye just by looking at it. In Pryor, Oklahoma, I saw THC, the Trippy Hippie Collective, sandwiched between an antique shop and a church. Question: in what order would you visit the antique shop, dispensary, and church for maximum enjoyment? Leave your answer in the comments. Getting a prescription for the laughing grass is even easier than starting a business. There's no list of conditions to meet, and it's up to the doctor to determine if it's needed. And let's just assume that anyone working at Nug MD or Docs of Cannabis will find a reason to prescribe the wisdom weed. The process of getting prescription takes a few minutes and can be done via Zoom call. As a result, over 400,000 Oklahomans, or 16% of the adult population, have a medical card, the highest per capita in the nation by far. Of course, the actual number of people smoking the oregano far exceeds the 400,000 with a medical card. In June, the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority published a study that estimates 1.4 million Oklahomans, or 47% of the adult population, has smoked the Jolly Green in the last year. This same study estimated that Oklahomans smoke an estimated 750,000 pounds of weed each year. That's the weight of 15,000 hay bales. At this rate, they're going to have to rename this place Toklahoma. The flag already comes equipped with a peace pipe, a dream catcher, and some green bud. With so many salt-of-the-earth Okies puffing the joy smoke, there must be trouble keeping up with demand, right? False. According to the same study, the medical marijuana industry produces 32 times the amount of ganja necessary. Due to cheap land, abundant water, and low license fees, Oklahoma has become the epicenter of center-scale cultivation in the United States. There are over 7,000 legal cannabis growing operations in Oklahoma, but many more illegal operations. In the last 3 years, law enforcement closed down 800 illegal ganja farms, and over 3,000 are currently under investigation. According to the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics, syndicates from China, Russia, Mexico, Bulgaria, and Armenia are in the Sooner State, pumping out enough ganja to supply the unlawful marijuana trade in Oklahoma and every other state in the country. In fact, Oklahoma is the #1 supplier of illicit skunk salad to the East Coast, which is ironic, since holier-than-thou Oklahoma sued Colorado when they legalized the golden leaf in 2014, saying that Colorado would illegally export the Rocky Mountain High to Oklahoma. Since Oklahoma is now sending Satan spinach across the border and crime syndicates have infiltrated the state, perhaps our neighbors should build a big, beautiful wall around Oklahoma to prevent us from sending drugs, crime, and pothead Okies to other states. I've always been a libertarian regarding drugs, especially marijuana, arguing that society should tax the sales instead of chasing down people using a product safer than alcohol. A look at the gross sales and tax revenue gives some validity to this point. Oklahoma's total tax revenue is over $180 million a year for medical marijuana. That's a fact. I quadruple checked that for fear of being fake news. Sources are in the description below. Many Oklahomans, especially in rural areas, aren't so happy about the prevalence of sin spinach shops, and some politicians have talked about reform. But if anyone is serious about stopping the reefer madness that has overtaken the High Plains, there's a simple solution. Ban country music. Outsiders might be surprised that the religious right in Oklahoma is religiously smoking the righteous bush, but I'm not surprised because I grew up listening to country music. A recent study showed that country music included more drug references than any other genre, and country music's drug of choice? Weed. Our parents warned us about listening to rap music and rock and roll, but they really should have worried about us listening to Merle Haggard, Linda Ronstadt, and Toby Keith. In between the Agricourt and church advertisements, this is what #RealAmerica is listening to on FM radio.
My baby loves me when I'm stoned. I might as well get stoned. Gonna lay in the hot sun and roll a big fat one and grab my guitar.
And it's not just the rebel boys of country music singing about the family tradition of smoking pot. There's an awful lot of female singers that sing about the sweet, sweet Chiba as well.
Country music. Let it get hot.
Every puff, every shot, you're looking better all the time.
Even Casey Musgraves,
sweet
little Casey Musgraves, cranks out stoner anthems.
That is sponsored
She
by
sang
Center
High
Overseas, of
Time
course.
at Farm Aid.
It's high.
Country musicians sing about weed, cocaine, and meth more than rock stars and rappers. So, obviously, the reason there are so many stoners in Middle America is due to country music. Conservatives have long drawn a straight line, from violent video games to school shootings, from rap music to gang violence. Using their infallible logic, we see that country music is turning the good folk of real America into zombified potheads. One thing is undeniable. Medical marijuana is now a vital part of the economy. Many dispensaries occupy storefronts and otherwise run down main streets, employ locals, and contribute to the local tax base. Although jazz cabbage may not be addictive, the conservative government of Oklahoma will no doubt have a hard time letting go of $180 million in tax revenue if they were ever to criminalize the wacky tobacco again. For the foreseeable future, Oklahoma will be known as the High Plains for more than one reason.
I never bought weed from nobody before. You know what I'm saying? And this was my first time texting a nigga, to buy weed. And just like any nigga, I texted him, "Excuse me, good sir, how many strands of marijuana would you provide me in exchange for 35 American dollars cash?" That's what I texted him. He said, a 3-5 going for 25, 7's going for 35. And I said, 3.5 strands of weed? How many blunts would that accumulate? And the nigga fucking blocked me. Bro, I would have blocked you too. I would have been blocked your ass. I would have blocked your ass as soon as I see him. Excuse me, good sir. Get out of there.
Oh shit.
Salinity stress.
Yep. Celine Dion. My heart. No, I know. We've got a lot of people too who like they'll run into that and they're like, all right, well, I'm going to flush my plant. And it's like, again, we're going into this super long battle, this uphill battle of bouncing back. And at that point, it's easier to sometimes just be lighter instead of getting further. You have to build backwards. It takes longer. I'd rather have a little bit of light feeding with my synthetic nutrients and more frequent potentially. That's where again, said it 1,000 times, but high frequency fertigation, you're doing it often and kind of shots of feeding, but not crazy amounts each time. Maybe higher EC, but it's lower amounts of food each time. And I think you have an opportunity to push your plant proper and not get it to the point where you have to go backward. And that's where synthetics, it's so easy to go one way or the other. Not that fine line is often.
Yeah, one of my biggest gripes is shelf life. I find that bottled nutrients are going to go bad far quicker than dry amendments because it's a solution. Once you break that seal, that water, that whatever's in there tends to go bad. It'll chelate. It'll just go skunky. And I've had dry amendments that I've had I would love to say for years that have never gone bad. But it's very tough to get a liquid solution to last any more than,
I think most shelf lives are like 2 years or something like that.
Before being open?
After you open them.
After you open them, which,
You ever get like the buildup of salt turns to like one of the hippie girls' crystals in the room and shit, and you got it all over the outside, and you open it, it's like,
all over the outside, yeah. I had like Fox Farm, what's their, the Fox Farm Trio, but the flower one,
Tiger Bloom.
Tiger Bloom, right? It's like, it becomes so gunky and brown and it's mushy and it's not the right consistency that it was that it's supposed to be. So yeah, eventually, unfortunately, a lot of these the formulas go bad.
Yeah, and it's either you pay top dollar for a tiny small amount, or you pay a decent rate for the big bottle. And if you're someone who's got a few plants, you're rarely going through that big bottle.
Very rarely.
Yeah. Now, if you're using a line that's 98% water, well, it's going to last you more than a line that's very concentrated. So I think that needs to be said too.
Well, it also depends in that case too, because you're going to be using, with the synthetic side of things, like, 15 milliliters per gallon, Athena. Holy shit. 15
with
milliliters?
Fox Farm, it's like
2.5,
2 to 3
yeah.
milliliters or whatever.
It's so concentrated because they're trying to not rip me off. That's how I feel. Why am I blending so much water and giving 15 milliliters of base nutrients B and A, 30 milliliters of liquid to my liquid? What the hell? You know what I'm saying? That's crazy when you think about it.
That's a dark side all in its own, like overwhelmed by the product selection. Liquid nutrients are nothing more than nutrients and water in a bottle.
That's pre-mixed for you. It's the frozen dinners.
A lot of people will die on a hill of a particular nutrient bottle, but the reality is that it's just one gal's version of what they think is the right proprietary mix to go at any particular time. Phosphorus is phosphorus is phosphorus. If it's sourced legitimately and it's clean, if phosphorus is phosphorus, calcium is calcium is calcium. You can't get a better, of course, like you can get a
pure concentrated versions, maybe.
Sure, but calcium would be calcium is calcium, right? So it comes really down to sourcing. And when you walk into a nutrient company, or sorry, when you walk into like a grocery store, rest in peace, or like a head shop that has bottles up on the shelf, there's often more than one bottle up there, and you're like, wow. Which one of these do I grab? And depending on how much that bottle company pays the grocery store will determine which bottle that company is going to push towards you. Because some of these bottles pay for more shelf.
Or they give a discount for they'll sell it for dirt cheap to the grocery store.
Sure.
For them to give them that placement.
Yep.
That's where they make
good placement. So yeah, it really depends. And it can be very overwhelming to decide, Do I go with company A? Do I go with company B? Do I go with these guys? And if I do, what's the difference between them? The numbers on the front can be a little bit different, but what does even that mean? So
there are many companies that try to, I don't want to say deceive the grower, but the consumer, really try to attract them to it. They'll have fancy stuff on the bottling, right? They'll have cartoons or
naked women.
Yeah, right. Sounds borderline. And so as a consumer, you kind of got a fear of getting ripped off in a sense, right? Or at least being overcharged, I guess you could say, because some of these are very costly. Like they're way more than they should be. Like the margins on nutrients, crazy.
Specifically, the reason for Stash Blend,
big reason.
We wanted it to be dry amended. Not only is the shelf life unbelievably longer than if it was liquid, but it's far more cost effective. Not only for us, but for the purchaser, or for the customer, for the people who want to buy it. Because when it's concentrated, when it's in a dry amendment form, you are then able to add it at your leisure, at your amount, to the solution and to the plant.
There's a reason why Kool-Aid started making Kool-Aid pouches.
Yeah.
Cash money, my friend, we're selling water to you.
Yep.
You know, and I think it's probably water that they stole. So it boils allegedly. It really is one of those things where ethics comes back into it again, and also just understanding the chemical makeup more of things instead of just getting bloom and veg and CalMag, like understanding why you need these, what's in this, and how to use it.
I do prefer powder over water lines, so that's one thing about the game. I recommend powder because, like they said, it does last longer. If you want to buy a lot, you can go ahead and buy a lot, because if you're getting it for a decent price for buying it a lot, then go powder.
Will help you determine if you really need these separate components, or you can find something that has it together. Because there's a lot. I mean, Jax is a prime example of the two-parter. People use that. I mean, there's plenty of two-parters that work pretty damn decent, or three-part even at the most. But it boils down to finding the basics on how to grow and to understand this, even know what you need and what you don't need,
Yeah, I mean, one more I think that can be mentioned, it kind of goes with this overfeeding one, is good growth isn't always good growth in a sense, right? Where it's like, and this kind of goes back to education as well. If you're growing with synthetic nutrients, you don't really know what you're doing. You might see your leaves look real nice and dark, right? You might assume that's healthy, but in reality, you could be overfeeding. You've got nitrogen toxicity, for example, right? So it's like, that's a mistake I made when I first was a beginner grower, right? I saw dark green leaves, nice and shiny, I thought, right?
Good to see you.
But there was curling involved as well. And, as a consumer, I didn't really know how easy it was to overfeed. And I thought it was good growth, but it was deceiving because it wasn't really. It was too far. It was toxic.
Yeah. And it's easy to do that when you're feeding with nutrition that's bottled, because you keep going more and more and you're seeing the immediate effect. You're like, well, I'm just not stressed. Growing good. Versus, in an organic soil, it's like, is it just taking it, absorbing it, it's just breaking down, give it some time, And so you almost think well, worst case condition, maybe I'll add a little more of this other side, or I'll taper this back and increase this. But sometimes that immediate reaction, immediate effect is tough for a rookie grower, because you're getting to the point where you're trying to throw the kitchen sink at it, and you end up just giving worse. You're making toxicity become even worse in other areas. So again, that bounce back period, it's you shooting yourself in the foot and expecting to win the race. It's crazy mentality. I've been there though, This FTS clip was brought to you by AC Infinity, leaders in garden innovation. Use discount code TheStash15 at checkout to save some money on your order.
From the Stash Podcast.
7 bags. Smoking marijuana.
Wilkerson?
Yeah.
Hey, can you take off your backpack for me really fast? You're just being detained at this time. Do you have any checked luggage?
No.
You don't?
That's all my luggage right there.
That's it?
Yes.
You didn't check a bag?
No.
Are you traveling with anybody else?
Yes, my little brother right there.
So, this is your brother? Yeah. Come over here.
I'm trying to see what's going on, though.
Did you guys check in the bag?
Check in?
Yeah. We have a bag. You guys was checked under Wilkerson's name.
It's my brother.
So he has luggage?
Yeah.
Did he check it in or did you check it in?
My brother, it's not his name.
Do you want to stay with your brother or do you want to go catch a flight? I mean, you're not saying the bag's yours. I mean, it's not yours. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. We're just trying to figure out whose bag it is. Your brother already said it's your bag.
That's where we're at. But then you're telling me it's not your bag. So I got two different stories.
It was right here.
Do you know what he's talking about then? So why would he say that? Where you go? He got on the flight.
He's on the plane.
So he kind of just left you high and dry. So.
Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome into our latest TDR Cannabis at 5 presented by FlowHub. I am your host, Shad Dales. Appreciate everybody logging on here today. So what is the conversation today? Well, we're going to focus on comments made from a former White House drug czar, and that is William Bennett, who says President Trump is wrong to reschedule marijuana and continues to call it a gateway drug that is, in his words, massively destructive. All right, let's look at what he means by this and how much we should really be buying into it, because let's face it, this was a drug czar back in the middle of the Just Say No era in the late 80s and early 90s. So let's get into our latest TDR Cannabis at 5. But first, if you're serious about scaling up as an operator in today's regulated cannabis market, then you already know the industry is not getting any easier. In fact, it's getting more competitive. Compliance is definitely tighter, and reporting requirements are heavier. Multi-store operations are also more complex, and margins matter more than ever right now. So when you factor all this in, this is where tech provider FlowHub.com comes in. FlowHub powers compliant, scalable cannabis retail operations across the entire country, from inventory management and real-time sales tracking to also customer insights and state reporting. Their system is built specifically for cannabis, not retrofitted from another industry. So if you're opening your first dispensary or managing multiple locations, you need clean data, reliable compliance tools, and software that grows with you. If you want to learn more, then check them out right now by booking a demo at flowhub.com and see how they can help you scale the right way. All right, let's now get into today's episode. And getting back to our original point, William Bennett, he isn't just any commentator. He was the first director of the Office of National Drug Control Policy, appointed during the Reagan administration and serving into the George H.W. Bush years, right in the middle, as I said earlier, the Just Say No era and the height of the war on drugs. We all remember that, at least I do. So when you hear him use language like gateway drug or warn about the destructive impact of marijuana, that framing is very consistent with the philosophy that shaped the federal drug policy in the late 80s and definitely the early 1990s. But man, that's a long time ago. So why is he responding to this now? Well, if you're new to our channel, it's because President Trump issued an executive order directing the DOJ to move marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 under the Controlled Substances Act back on December 18th. So if you don't understand, this is not legalization, this is rescheduling, which would formally recognize accepted medical use and reduce certain federal restrictions while still keeping cannabis federally controlled. So Bennett argues marijuana harms focus and attention, particularly among students. He says loosening federal classification sends the wrong message and could normalize use in ways that increase broader social harm.
Alcohol changes your mood.
Incorrect. Teen usage is actually since 1999 at an all-time low. Why? Because there's more regulated markets across the country right now. So again, when you look at his comments, that is a classic war on drugs era thinking, and context definitely matters here. So when Bennett was shaping federal policy back then, marijuana was treated the same as heroin under federal law. No accepted medical use and high abuse potential. So that classification, it impacted research, it impacted banking access, tax policy, and criminal enforcement for decades. And fast forward to today, well, you could brainwash an entire country because all you had to worry about was newspaper, television, and radio. That has changed dramatically. And these old baby boomers talk about things, I don't think they truly understand how ridiculous they sound, knowing the amount of information that people and younger generations can get access to. You gotta change with the times, Mr. Bennett, because as you fast forward to today here in 2026, dozens of states have legalized medical cannabis. Dozens, as many as 40. Many have also legalized adult use. To be accurate, 24. That's a majority of Americans now supporting reform. And now we have a Republican president pushing for federal rescheduling, something that would have been politically unthinkable during Bennett's tenure. So while his comments definitely sound familiar, they also highlight how dramatically the conversation has definitely shifted. But again, that's almost 40 years ago. This indeed is a former architect of federal prohibition, openly criticized criticizing a modern Republican president for moving towards reform. So that tells you how far policy indeed has evolved. And then from a practical standpoint, moving marijuana to Schedule 3 could have meaningful implications. And what are those? Well, it could eliminate the federal 280E tax burden on state legal operators. It could also expand legitimate research pathways, and that's what's key. And it would formally acknowledge medical value at the federal level, which many Americans have been waiting for decades. But it would not federally legalize cannabis, and it would also not create interstate commerce, and it would not override state-level regulatory systems. So really, this debate is again about classification, not full legalization. Remember that and understand that, because this is also about generational philosophy, and that is important. If you look back, the Reagan and Bush administrations, by the way, both have since passed, they've approached drug policy through strict prohibition, deterrence, messaging, and enforcement-first strategy. Then when you look at today's policy conversations, it includes states' rights, medical access, criminal justice reform, taxation, and regulatory modernization. So whether you agree with Bennett or not, which many of you probably don't that follow this channel, his criticism definitely represents the original blueprint of federal drug policy. Trump's directive represents how far the blueprint has definitely shifted. And also something important I want to share to all of you, this isn't fringe anymore, everyone, not in the least little bit. This is a federal policy debate at the highest level, and that is another indication as to how far the cannabis industry has moved and grown and changed over the last 40 years. So drop your comments below and let me know your feedback. What did you think when William Bennett said this is the wrong decision when it comes to rescheduling of cannabis by President Trump and how it's a gateway drug? Yes, sounds pretty outdated to me because, again, it's not full legalization. It is about medical benefits when you talk about rescheduling. And over 70% of Americans want to see some sort of reform happen and happen now. So again, love to get your feedback. Keep those comments flowing in. And if you get a chance, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash on that bell for all notifications and stay connected with us here at TDR. That's it for now, everyone. Appreciate you logging on here today. I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, I'm your host, Shad Dales, and thanks again for watching.
A lot of people say, well, Mick, you have money. Of course you have girls. I got two things to say. First, what about the girls I got before I got money? And second, I hope I got girls because of money. What else do you think I'm getting money for? To get guys?
Now the question is, will states reconsider their lax laws on pot? In 2012, only Colorado and Washington state had legalized recreational marijuana, but today it's legal in 24 states. And Tommy, as a practicing physician, I could tell you that what led to a lot of this was it being medically legal in 40 states, and that was used as a political cover for it being legalized recreationally with the idea that it had been proven that it had medical uses. Now that's being questioned.
Yeah, well, you know more about the medical uses than I do, certainly. But I'll tell you this, to the point of all these videos we're seeing of these people saying, I was addicted. If you've ever been around somebody who smokes a lot of weed, most of us could deduce that they have an addiction. Whether they're smoking it or they're sucking it out of their little vape pen, it feels very much like an addictive behavior. Listen. My big concern is young people. It's the young people that they're not going out and they're not interacting with others. They're sitting home on the couch playing video games, smoking weed. And they have been told that somehow that's an alternative or a better alternative. And that's my concern there. I don't know all the medical nuance of it. You do. But my concern is that this has been billed as some kind of just harmless recreational activity. And it feels like it's definitely not.
Julie, I wrote an op-ed last year in the Wall Street Journal called "This is not your parents' Woodstock weed." And the idea there, and other people have said this, is that whatever we're calling this, marijuana, cannabis, whatever we're calling it, it's not 1.5% THC anymore. It's more like 30%. And that's why you're getting cannabis-induced psychosis and all these side effects.
Mm-hmm. I hate to be a buzzkill on this one, but I mean, I did smoke pot when I was younger, and I find it to be gross, and it also makes you impaired. I would not trust anyone getting behind the wheel. I don't know why marijuana was ever legalized. For medicinal purposes, I'm all for it, and I know a lot of people, cancer patients, who have relied on it heavily to help numb the pain of cancer treatments and all these other medical ailments. But to legalize marijuana, I mean, when you walk out in New York City streets in particular, all you do is smell pot. And it's just a legal way of allowing minors to get intoxicated. I mean, that's what it is when you're really stoned, you're intoxicated. Maybe not by alcohol, but I don't believe that kids and teenagers and 18-year-olds should have access to pot. And here, there's vending machines where you can buy pot. And stores in Times Square, they don't ID you, they don't care, because it's legal. I think it's irresponsible.
Joe, you have another point of view on this?
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. We're such a this society is meddling in hypocrisy in a way that.
Now that's funny because the people that's been around know that one of my first videos was about the vending machine. So, go back and look that up in the original Team DWC playlist. Shout out to having playlists. Shout out to knowing which playlist is in, so I didn't send y'all to the wrong playlist, right? Yeah, right. Although, it is the big boy playlist, so, everything goes in Team DWC. It's the business.
Makes me furious. I don't smoke weed. I don't drink beer or alcohol. But to be in a place where I can sit and watch alcohol commercials on TV and hear someone preach at me about how bad weed is, no. Take that on somewhere else. On the medicinal side, it absolutely works. It works so well for so many veterans I know. But just like you said, we didn't legalize marijuana. We decriminalized the use of marijuana. So it's unregulated. We're not looking at it and studying it and saying at what level of THC does it have the effect we're looking for? At what level of THC does it have a negative effect, by and large, that we should try to take out of our society? That's the problem. We've put so much emphasis on keeping it illegal at the federal level that we've neutered our ability to actually regulate it. And on that, I just want to, because this really broaches into another topic. In a society, in an industry in this country, where we have no problem with SSRIs, with Zoloft or Prozac or Lexapro, I'm not beating up on these medicines. But for God's sake, I can sit here and watch somebody become a zombie on that stuff. I can watch somebody going to DTs coming off of it to the point that I don't think they're going to make it. And we've got societies around this world that have used things, psychedelics like ibogaine, ayahuasca, peyote, psilocybin. I don't know how to say that correctly. These are things that have helped people find their spiritual health. These are things. Ibogaine is something that everyone I've ever talked to that's ever done it said it changed my life, and it was such a painful experience. I hope I never have to do it again. And you have to fly to another country to do that. So I don't want to do anything to undermine some of the medical advancements in going to traditional medicine. And I think we're on this precipice. We're teetering on this little thing where, we have no problem discussing how bad marijuana is, but don't attack alcohol because that's a part of.
Hey, this is what you call saying it with your chest, see, making sure you hear them. Said, am I using my loud and projected voice? Because I am, speaking to many, apparently, because y'all ain't listening. So I'll make sure somebody in the audience can hear type shit.
Our culture. Well, you know what? People get behind the wheel drinking every day and kill people. It happens every single day. And I'd much rather smell weed on the side of the street than I had liquor on someone's breath trying to talk to me. So I think we can't be hypocrites about it. If we legalize at the federal level the recreational use of marijuana, then we could regulate it. And then we can make sure the THC levels are consistent and below a point that it becomes some of these problems.
Your argument just speaks to why President Trump made it Schedule 3 instead of Schedule 1. Because it's going to make it easier to study. Some critics say you should have gone to Schedule 2, which is in between, because it's not proven medically. But you're making a really good argument for being able to study it more for medicinal use.
I appreciate that, Doc.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Oh, man, he had called Deuces.
I infiltrate the Illuminati. Find out what the fuck they got going on. Get the information. Run back to y'all. Tell y'all everything I know. That's my motherfucking job. But I don't know how many more times I'm going to be able to sneak in there. Thanks to Shannon Sharp and 90 million views, I can't sneak very often. So while I was in there this last time, knowing that my last report might be my last report, I went in there and I got information for everybody. Look at my white friends. Us too? That's right, white secrets. Okay, so because of the climate and the temperature of, God damn it, shoelaces.
That's the only thing about being short. They made these shoelaces for a 7 foot. All right, back to my Illuminati information. All right, I'm gonna do it quick, and I'm gonna be moving around for my own safety. White friends, here come y'all's first. For 50 years, y'all been wondering, what the happened to JFK? I went in there and watched the VCR tape myself. I can't tell you what I saw, white friends, but I'll show you the part you missed. Moving right along. Every time I go in there, I be thinking they hate some of us more than others. But when I find out the information, I find out they hate all of us. They just lie to all of us. They don't see no difference, just lie to all of us. Here's a perfect example. Did you know that for 35 years they've been telling us we are at war with cholesterol? That cholesterol is the silent killer. All our doctors told us our cholesterol was too motherfucking high and we needed to get it down low. Guess what they found out and didn't tell us? Did you know your brain is 100% cholesterol? Your whole brain is cholesterol. So congratulations, some of y'all cholesterol loaded a bitch. You did it.
So
another state is about to go fully legal.
Cholesterol
Over in Virginia, they've had pretty much everything, from medical herb to home grows, but sales for recreational purposes technically remained illegal. But now things are about to change, as Virginia lawmakers approve full legalization, including recreational sales. But what's even better is that there are other big changes like resentencing bills and even laws that protect the rights of parents who use the good herb. This is a big win for weed.
Future sales of recreational marijuana in Virginia are back on the table tomorrow. State lawmakers will present a proposal for a cannabis marketplace by November of next year. Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin vetoed previous legislation. But with Virginia getting a new governor in January, there is hope among proponents of passing a revised bill in the next session. Our Matthew Torres explains where the issue stands today.
Despite attempts from state Democrats to legalize retail marijuana sales in Virginia, Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin has repeatedly vetoed them down. But with Democrat Abigail Spanberger taking over the governor's office soon, hopes of passing a marketplace are stronger than ever.
I feel extremely confident and blessed that we're going to get this done.
Spanberger has signaled support in the past. You're allowed to possess small amounts of marijuana in the Commonwealth, but buying or selling for recreational use is illegal. Stakeholders are determined to change that.
So that we can have safe, standardized, tested product. So people that are over the age of 21 will be able to come in and consume cannabis when they see it.
There is a priority amongst some lawmakers to enact retail sales sooner rather than later and begin transitioning consumers away from the illicit market to one that is regulated for product and consumer safety.
There's been more work since the creation of the Joint Commission to oversee the transition of the Commonwealth into a cannabis retail market. Tax rates, allocating revenue, and supporting small businesses have been debated for several months. But the commission is prepared to release a final draft Tuesday. Chair Delegate Paul Krizak says he's still finalizing the bill's language as of Monday afternoon. The legislation that's going to be proposed will include one of the lowest tax rates in the country for regulated cannabis at 9%. He says this will make sure marijuana is priced competitively. The plan would also roll out statewide, meaning local governments would not have the option to opt out.
Years and years of work, debate, and public input have gone into this process.
But there will be pushback from opponents concerned about impacts on children, public health, and law enforcement.
Cannabis is bad for Virginia.
Echoing what Governor Youngkin has always argued about.
Now, we have mentioned Virginia in past episodes and did signal that full recreational is coming, especially with the appointment of Governor Spanberger. But with that, it's a little bit of a bittersweet feeling because there are a lot of other radical policies that she is looking to and has already put in place. I'm talking taxes on Uber Eats, delivery services, all sorts. We actually broke it down in our past episode, so be sure to check that out. But what's pretty interesting about this is that they're saying that it'll be the lowest tax in the country, or one of the lowest taxes in the country. But it'll be really interesting to see if that actually holds true, because we've seen a lot of folks in a lot of states start off with small or what seem as small taxes, but they actually increase quite a bit. Because let's be real about it, no lawmaker is going to come straight out the gate and say, hey, we're taxing you guys at 40%.
In fact, what they're going to do is start off at a seemingly reasonable price point, and then they're going to add and stack taxes on that. Just have a look at Michigan. They've got so many taxes stacked on top of each other that by the time you check out, you're looking at a total of 40% tax. But what is good is that lawmakers have actually approved the legal market. And what we can see right here is that Virginia lawmakers have approved sales, but also resentencing bills. And that's where things get really interesting. Now, here are a few of the key details when it comes to the new laws over in Virginia. In particular, adults will be able to purchase up to 2.5 ounces of herb in a single transaction. When it comes to oversight and licensing, the Virginia Cannabis Control Authority will oversee licensing and regulation of this new industry. Now, there will be a board of directors appointed to this Cannabis Control Authority that will have the authority to control possession, sale, transportation, distribution, delivery, and testing of marijuana. Now, this is the interesting part and goes back to exactly what I was saying earlier, guys. There will be a 6% excise tax on the sale of marijuana products, and they'll also be subject to the state's 5.3% retail sales and use tax. Local governments could levy an additional 3.5% tax. So you guys can see how these taxes can already start to stack and increase. Now, when it comes to the tax revenue that is generated, that will be split between the cost of administrating and enforcing the state's marijuana system, a new cannabis equity reinvestment fund, pre-kindergarten programs, substance use disorder prevention and treatment programs, and public health programs such as awareness campaigns designed to prevent drug-impaired driving and discourage underage consumption. Now, these are a lot of different programs that this tax revenue is intended to go toward. So it'll be interesting to see how much tax revenue is actually generated and whether all these programs actually get a piece of that tax revenue. Because the truth is, we've seen other states like Michigan implement taxes to fix the roads, but yet the roads still aren't fixed. Now, like we mentioned earlier, local governments cannot opt out of having dispensaries in their area. Delivery services will be allowed. Serving sizes will be capped at 10 milligrams of THC with no more than 1 unit of THC per package. Existing medical cannabis operators can enter the adult use market if they pay a $5 million licensing conversion fee. Now, again, that's a lot of money, so some players may not actually be able to convert. And just having a quick look at the medical cannabis dispensary licensing fees, it seems like there's a large disparity between the $5 million that they quoted and some of these figures that I'm seeing right here. So let me know what you guys think about that. That's pretty interesting. Now, in addition to those laws, a legislative commission would be directed to study adding on-site consumption licenses and micro-business cannabis event permits. Now, this is pretty interesting because this can allow licensees to conduct sales at venues like farmers markets or pop-up locations, and that can really expand the market, the industry, and also give folks a safe place to consume their herb. So Virginia is rolling out some of these laws, and some of them sound great. But like I said, you guys need to always pay attention to the fine print. That $5 million licensing fee is something that you guys need to be aware of. It may be a hindrance and may operate in such a way that only big players can operate. And also the taxes. Those taxes may stack quickly and they may increase over time, especially if they realize that the legal sales are making profits. Now, with Virginia setting up a new legal market and implementing a bunch of new laws designed to regulate that market, obviously they're going to need a blueprint as to how things are going to run. And the Joint Committee, no pun intended, as well as the Cannabis Commission, have been tasked with doing that. Check it out.
Virginia could be one step closer to recreational cannabis sales. Today, a state-appointed commission unveiled a blueprint for how it would work across the Commonwealth. Fox House Home Batch live in Arlington tonight with those details.
Hi, Kenneth. Medical dispensaries like this one right behind me have been allowed for about 5 years now, but getting into that retail cannabis market, that has proven to be a challenge in the Commonwealth. They tell me here, if this goes through, it would be a huge win.
For us as a business, it would be a massive win. But more importantly, for folks that want to consume cannabis that's safe tested, age-gated, standardized products, it's even more important.
Now, this is Beyond Hello. They run 6 medical dispensaries in Northern Virginia with a cultivation plant in Manassas. They tell me they're hopeful Virginia can follow in Maryland's footsteps. Today, the Marijuana Commission met with 7 pages of recommendations after months of hearings and studies. Keep in mind, it has been 5 years since Virginia legalized possession and cultivation. But some key points from the proposed bill: it favors small businesses and gets rid of opt-outs for localities while making sure they receive a percentage of revenue. There are projections of about $400 million
in annual tax revenue over the next 5 years. It also looks to curb the illicit market while reinvesting in communities hit hardest by laws from the war on drugs era. Here's State Senator Aaron Krause and Delegate Paul Krizek, both who helped sponsor the legislation. Krause telling me creating a level playing field was an essential step.
It made sure that everyone would go to market at the same time, ensuring that big pharma does not get a leap over small businesses. In fact, what I made sure was to prioritize Virginia's small businesses first.
Biggest concern, I think, as I said, has been public safety, and a regulated retail market will replace the illicit market because it includes product testing, labeling, accurate labeling, and consumer education.
Now, in the past, Governor Glenn Youngkin vetoed legislation that would have created a legal cannabis market in the state. Today, Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger telling Fox 5 she believes the Commonwealth needs a clear strategy to set up a market that prioritizes public safety and grows Virginia's economy. She also says she believes revenue should be reinvested into things like strengthening the state's public schools. Spanberger says she's looking forward to finding a path forward and working with the General Assembly. Now, again, keep in mind, the soonest we could see a retail recreational cannabis market here in the state of Virginia would be November 2026. Guys.
So it seems like it is happening and it's only a matter of time. And in addition to recreational sales finally rolling out, it turns out the Virginia lawmakers have also approved bills to expand medical access in certain hospitals. Now, this is big because it will allow terminally ill patients to use medical cannabis so long as cannabis is federally rescheduled. And it goes back to what I've always been saying. President Trump's executive order to reschedule the good herb from Schedule 1 to 3 could be the push for so many things. I think it's a good thing if terminally ill patients are able to use a naturally healing medicine.
Senate Bill 332, a bill to direct the Department of Health to convene a work group to develop policies for the safe administration of medical marijuana to terminally ill patients.
The chair recognizes the senator from Arlington.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the bill pass, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Well, thank you. What this bill would do is once the federal government moves cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 category, and the Department of Health issues regulations, after those two steps, then hospitals would be permitted to provide cannabis oil to patients under the direction, of course, of a medical team. And cannabis oil is already available, again, under the direction of a medical team at our nursing homes and in hospice. Cannabis oil has been effective in ameliorating some severe pain and also helping with nausea and appetite loss. So this bill has a couple guardrails in it, and we're merely trying to treat patients in hospitals, give them the same options as we're currently giving patients in nursing homes and in hospice. So I do hope it is the will of the body to pass this bill. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 332 pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. Senate Bill 332 passes.
So that was overwhelming, and it was absolutely fantastic to see. Now, we got a few other changes that are really big and really, really significant. But before we get into those, just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or cop some merch from our merch store. I got that new American-grown hoodie on, The Good Herb. Use that code ICANNTHC and grab it now. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics. Use the code LEGAL. It works on the bundle and the beans.
Future sales of recreational marijuana in Virginia are back on the table tomorrow. State lawmakers will present a proposal for a cannabis marketplace.
So like I said, lawmakers in Virginia have been in overdrive since Governor Spanberger was elected. In fact, she signed tons of executive orders on day one of being in office. And some of those you guys definitely need to be wary of.
Governor Glenn Youngkin has vetoed a bill designed to protect parents who use or possess marijuana.
You're watching 8 News at 5:30. I'm Eric Phillips.
I'm Deanna Albritton. The governor claims the bill would have unintended consequences, but the bill's author says it's a common sense bill to prevent kids from being ripped away from their parents.
The bill by Richmond Delegate Ray Cousins would have added language to the code clarifying that the state couldn't use a parent or caregiver's possession or use of marijuana as the sole basis for claiming a child is being abused or neglected. Tonight, Governor Glenn Youngkin vetoing a bill that would have prevented the state from using a parent or caregiver's use or possession of marijuana as the sole evidence to prove a child is being abused or neglected.
I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I can't even fathom, her being separated from me on the basis of legal activity.
The bill, which would have also clarified that the possession or use of marijuana shall not serve as the sole basis to restrict a parent or caregiver's custody or visitation rights, comes after the General Assembly legalized simple possession and the adult use of marijuana in 2021.
We've received calls from constituents and also advocacy organizations who have received calls from parents who have had their visitation or custody rights disturbed or taken away just on the basis of a positive drug screening.
Despite that, the governor vetoed the bill, saying, quote, "It's a significant threat to child safety, potentially shielding parents engaging in substance possession or consumption from scrutiny," and adding it will dissuade local departments of social services from implementing necessary protective measures. Delegate Ray Cousins, who wrote the bill, disagrees.
The bill does not state that courts cannot take other factors into account. It just simply says that a parent's custody or visitation rights cannot be limited or disturbed or taken away just on the basis of the legal possession or consumption of an authorized substance.
But when it comes to the good herb, at least we can say they're doing some good stuff. And the Virginia House actually passed a bill to protect the right of parents who use the good herb. Now, this is truly significant because under this proposal, possession or use of cannabis by a parent or guardian on its own shall not serve as a basis to deem a child abused or neglected unless other facts establish that such possession or consumption causes or creates a risk of mental or physical injury to the child. So in other words, if you just happen to have some gummies or some flour at home, it does not necessarily mean that you're immediately a bad parent. And in fact, it even goes on to say that a person's legal possession or consumption of substances authorized under the state's law shall not serve as a basis to restrict custody or visitation unless other facts establish that such possession or consumption is not in the best interest of the child. So in other words, if you're doing things legally, but you seem to be completely out of control, and if it affects the best interest of the child, then that may be a different story. Now, there are critics of this proposal who claim that this will introduce unnecessary complications and risks, exposing children to harm. And again, the protecting the kids argument has come up. But if we're really talking about protecting the kids, then have a look at some of those executive orders signed into law by Governor Spanberger. Those definitely put children at risk. That's all I'm going to say. But you guys know it's not about what I think. So let's head over to Virginia Beach to see how city leaders and residents are preparing for potential recreational sales finally rolling out in Virginia. Check it out.
All right, we're talking about lots of buzz in the resort city as Virginia Beach prepares for the possible legalization of the sale of recreational marijuana. Now, it could happen here in the Commonwealth by the end of this year. 10 on your side's Michael Rinker has details on a task force asked to make recommendations should that happen.
By the end of this year, the legal sale of marijuana could be a reality in Virginia, and now localities, including Virginia Beach, are trying to get ready for a brand new industry in their city. From zoning, taxes, and public impact, Virginia Beach's Cannabis Advisory Task Force is handling how a recreational retail marijuana industry could exist in Virginia Beach. With Democrats controlling the House, Senate, and Governor's office, it's expected the recreational sale of marijuana will be legalized this year, and Virginia Beach wants to be prepared.
It's critical to get ahead of it and to roll out your program both at the state and the local level in an organized manner. You can look at the New York State, who went through a rollout about 2 years ago, and it was very disorganized, and it created a lot of problems.
The task force will work with City Council to decide key factors like who gets a license, where do shops open, how close can two stores be to each other, and when can they operate. Much of what they decide to do really comes from the state level first.
Governor-elect Spanberger said she supports a well-regulated market, which includes, oversight, enforcement, regulation, all those things. So I think that is critical in rolling out a program at both the state and the local levels.
Then how do you tax retail marijuana sales? The task force brought up a 2.5% as well as a 3.5% tax. It's an industry that the city can capitalize off.
But as a municipality, we have the power to capitalize on that. We can either do nothing or it continues to have a revenue source that we can't tap into. And then we'll put that on the taxpayers.
But not to be left out, the public, the task force and the city want the community to be a part of the process before they make any formal decisions. Now, what a recreational marijuana industry looks like in Virginia hinges on the legislation that gets passed in Richmond. You can read more about Virginia Beach's task force on wavy.com.
So legal sales are coming. The lawmakers see the dollar signs. They see the tax revenue that can be generated, and they want to spend it on so many different programs. And that's absolutely clear. They don't even really try to hide it anymore. Check it out.
The idea behind it, I know, is Aaron wanted to capture the revenue. So to say, hey, if this is something that's already happening, let's create a framework so we can get some education revenue is his goal, and we can ensure that there's some public safety efforts. Now there's a framework, we can regulate it, and we can create some rules that will hopefully promote public safety.
So it's just funny to me that the public safety aspect of it came second, but the money part of it came first. We want to make sure that we can get some of the tax revenue and use it for all these stuff. But let me know what you guys think about everything that's happening over in Virginia. They're finally going to rule out legal recreational sales, and it's been a long time coming. But drop your thoughts and concerns in the comment section down below, because the trade-off, it may be astounding and it may leave long-lasting impacts on Virginia. Now, in our next episode, despite seeing more and more states move toward full legalization, we're seeing the media doing a complete 180, and now they're saying that America has a weed problem. It's absolutely crazy. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. It's coming up right now.
From summer's end till the winter comes, till gray days turn to yellow ones. I stay grinding for mine. I try to tell them once. To travel to the moon, you gotta brave the elements. And battle many goons, you gotta cage the elephants. It's elementary, I speak with a certain eloquence. I smoke hella blunts, a habit I've been developed since I was a young boy playing the silver ball. See him stand, feel him fall. Metallica, kill them all. Living like this is my last moment, but a moment could last forever. Snap a picture in that colon. Give whatever you gon', sip in your glass, hold it up. Hit the side on mine, get the tip in the back, go in. So many days we were sitting low. Better get busy living to the day you giving and then get to go where the sinners go. Pulling the cash and spend it slow. Better make it fast, redemption. No matter no money, yo, it's all expendable. You'll be alright, yeah.
So, of course, now y'all know we got to go over here to the studio. Yeah, shout out to the studio. Click the live feature. I'm somewhere live, doing my thing. Catch me in the zone. Link copy to the clipboard. Oh, they want me to log back in again. Okay, Google. You better get on top of your shit, man. Making me log in again and again and again and again and again. You know I stay on my buy me a coffee, man. But let's see. View page. Create some. Post something. He said post something. You gotta click it twice. See, that's the part I don't like. Anyways, let's see. What's today's video? Cartel. Get the link. Paste. That sounded all aggressive when I double clicked that, didn't it? It did, but we got it in though. One click, one strike. Shout out to the 26 members and 51 followers on Buy Me a Coffee. Appreciate them. That's why we do this whenever we do it, right? Sometimes we send it to all 51 of them just so they know I posted. But hopefully they see. If not, we'll run them back by Saturday, right? Be like, this is that post y'all definitely gonna get because it's Saturday and y'all know I'm doing my thing, so I'm definitely reminding you. Shouts out to y'all though. Appreciate you on the Rumble. Y'all know the link up with YouTube link up with the Rumble, and I will see y'all at our next scheduled event.